Both of us went through some really sad times during the course of this painting. I'm Francis Shui. My clients asked me for a portrait of themselves with their pets. I had no idea at the time how special this painting actually would become. I was excited to work on this for a few reasons. This woman, Katie, actually was a winner of one of my print raffles back in early 2024 at one of my art exhibits. And her partner, Mac, actually became one of my regular students in my watercolor classes, both in person and online. He and his dog, Layla, were inseparable. And on top of that, their cat, Georgia, was the splitting image of my cat. So this painting really was the convergence of so many intersecting delights, all related to my art. My clients had a few requests at the outset of this process. They wanted the whole crew to be in the picture. They wanted to be seated on their sofa, in between their two large windows of their apartment, which overlooked the Hudson River. And they wanted to see the George Washington Bridge out one window and the cliffs of New Jersey out the other. In terms of the actual process of painting this, we had to start with some photos, so I went over to their apartment. I took a bunch of reference photos, tried to get the whole family, all the pets. It was hard, but eventually we were able to come up with a composition that they loved. After coming up with the final composition, I worked to pencil it onto the paper. I used light marks, dark enough to show them the desired composition, but light enough that I wouldn't feel constricted or constrained when I'm painting, so that it didn't feel like I was just coloring in between lines of a coloring book. For a portrait, generally I'll start close to the face, the body, and ignore the other parts of the painting, because if I spend too much time on the background or other elements that are not close to the face, I could mess up the face at the end, and then I would have wasted a lot of time. Sometimes when I'm working on a particular section, I may have to let a part of it dry. So while I have the paint out, while I have paint on my brush still and the water is out and I'm recording, I just find another spot in the painting that can use that color, and I'll work in that section and then go back to the main part that I was working on. So even though I'm trying to focus on the middle of this picture where the faces, the portraiture really is, I still may be going out to other sections as long as I'm using the same color so that I can be efficient. It's really just a way to be productive, to maximize the time that I'm actually in front of the paper. I'm not known for painting animals, but I felt this was a great challenge to take on because the animals are not the main subject of the portrait, it's really the owners. But I also felt like I knew the animals. I'd seen Layla so many times. She even came to class. I saw Mac and Layla walking around the neighborhood all the time. And because their cat, Georgia, was so similar looking to my own cat, it felt really natural. And they're smaller in the painting itself, so there wasn't as much of a risk of getting anything drastically wrong. So I was comfortable taking on this challenge, even though I don't normally do pet portraits. After I started working on the painting, Mac's dog Layla passed away. And then as I was getting to the end, my own cat Fluffy died. Both of us went through some really sad times during the course of this painting. So there are a lot of emotions wrapped up in this piece for both me and my clients. And I've painted the George Washington Bridge and the cliffs of the Palisades across the river so many times, but we had to take a bit of artistic license here because those views actually weren't possible when I was taking photos in their apartment. There were a lot of trees and foliage blocking the view. And besides, the perspective wasn't perfect. If I was standing in this same spot that I'm painting from, as the viewer, we wouldn't really be able to see those views exactly as I've portrayed them. But with some artistic license and imagination, I basically blocked in those elements and tried to show them in a way that I knew that my clients wanted to remember them by, and in which they felt real to me. And these views represent some of the best vantage points that I've seen, that I've taken pictures of. And the resulting composition was really a way of illustrating what a view of the bridge out that window or a view of the cliffs out that window might actually look like. Ultimately, I felt it was important to be able to paint them in a way that was familiar to me and also felt real to me. One of the things I wanted to keep in mind with this painting was how to maintain the focal point. And actually, in this painting, I felt that there were multiple focal points. We have the figures and their pets in the middle, but also we have the views outside the windows, which is specifically part of the client's request. They wanted to remember these two views because they were moving out of their apartment. So in the end, I decided I would draw the viewer's eyes to both the windows and the subject in the middle, and really to keep those as the most dramatic and brightest parts of the scene. And then I basically kept the other parts of the interior, like the walls and the furnishings, to a minimum in terms of detail, flatness. I also took my client's suggestion to remove some of the things from the windows. So there were a few objects, maybe books on the windowsills. There was an air conditioner in the window. So I basically left those things out, really just to keep it a clean composition. the end, I was pleased with how this painting turned out, and my clients were happy too. It was really cathartic to be able to paint their cat, which could have been a twin of mine. I hope that this painting will bring fond memories to them in the future. All of these things help make this artwork one of the most memorable commissions I've worked on. If you enjoyed this, please hit subscribe to view some of my other works. You can also view all of my art at my website, art-francis.com, where you can find info about my art and my practice, and you can find out how to commission custom artwork from me.